the simplest answer I can give you is the clearest signal is in the labor market. That's what is going to trigger the adjustment. Fortunately or unfortunately, we live in a business cycle that has very long lag, abnormally long lag, because there is still a shortage of labor, both in the US and the Eurozone. This is just making all of the adjustment much slower. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we ended 2023 with market pricing over 120 basis points of cuts by the US. And we keep on bringing it back. In fact, at some point recently, we're actually actively looking into rate hikes, right? And then Powell, in the last press conference, kind of made that clear that that is very unlikely. Personally, I still believe rate cuts are happening, both in the Eurozone and in the US. We actually expect 75 basis points of cuts this year. But what I would say is it's comfortable in saying 100 basis points over the next 12 months, plausibly starting in September or October for the US, whereas the ECB will start in June at 25 basis points pace, and maybe not every month, but every other month or maximum every quarter will deliver a critical amount of easing that allows the recovery to reaccelerate in the Eurozone and a soft landing in the US.
You've mentioned a crucial issue. To me, the reading is pretty much the same. To me, it is all about the job market at the moment, more so in the US. There are some signals that say, and for instance, in the course of the recent earnings season, it has been repeated again and again by the representatives of big corporations. There are signals that the American consumer is losing the momentum. Now, I know that we discussed this more or less a year ago already, and there were some signals, but how do you read it at the moment, given all the other issues? Is it something that could derail sort of a central scenario, including the one about cutting the rates by the end of the year?
So a year ago, we were beginning to pick up the softening. It went from very tight to gradually losing steam. And indeed, you saw it in slowing wage growth in the US. Now, because we have April data, what we see is that if you take the cumulative amount of unemployed in the US, that exceeds the cumulative amount of employed over a 12-month period. So they added 600,000 unemployed last year, and they generated 450,000 positions. So this is the pivotal moment. There is still a very important question about timing, because we think in any case it will take at least another good 6 months before these lines continue to cross, and the number of unemployed is big enough to create unemployment rate, right? And because we normally, that the US labor market never soft lands, once it starts, it really skyrockets. So we think in any case next year you will see the unemployment rate above market expectation in the 4.5% range. I think when in the last episodes of the leaders briefing, we discussed the importance of wealth effects, especially for the US, right? US households have very high exposure to equities. As long as the S&P is doing very well, there is, 20 to 40% of the population that has such a dominant positive effect. And this is reinforced by the fact that globally we're recycling savings into US equities. So this loop is very hard to stop. What I think we should discuss, because it's very pressing now and very relevant also for the issue of competitiveness going forward, is that first of all, the critical moment is when high professionals will get laid off, if they will get laid off, because those are the ones that have wealth and indebtedness that indeed can change the outlook for the economy. So I personally expect that you will see some higher educated job losses, maybe by end of year, early next year. And that's when also the housing market is going to begin to soften as a result.